Death. It's something we try not to think about, but we should. Avoiding it means we miss out on the chance to think more deeply about how we really want to spend our time. Imagine yourself lying there on a hospital bed, knowing your time's up. What could you have done differently? It's only by reflecting on how we might look back over our lives as they come to an end that we can make sure we don't regret anything. In The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, Bronnie Ware, a nurse who worked with hundreds of dying patients, shares her experiences listening to people's deathbed regrets so that we can learn from them. She writes, "If we're able to face our own inevitable death with honest acceptance before we have reached that time, then we shift our priorities well before it's too late. This gives us the opportunity to then put our energies into directions of true value. Once we acknowledge that limited time is remaining, although we don't know if that is years, weeks, or hours, we're less driven by ego or by what other people think of us. Instead, we are more driven by what our hearts truly want. This acknowledgement of our inevitable approaching death offers us the opportunity to find greater purpose and satisfaction in the time we have remaining. By studying the most common deathbed regrets of others, we can avoid the mistakes they made. So let's dive in. Regret number 1, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not to the life others expected of me. Bronnie had a patient named Grace. Grace's husband was abusive and controlling. He ruled over her. She dreamed of traveling and being free. Grace's husband eventually got sick, and she was excited to start doing what she wanted. But soon after, she was diagnosed with a serious illness herself and couldn't get out of bed. Grace was angry and regretful that she lost so many years of her life to an abuser. She wished she had been able to live life on her own terms. Now, this isn't a situation, thankfully, that most of us will be able to relate to. But we all let other people shape our lives in other ways. Every single one of us worries what other people think. And in this way, we let other people control our lives. Humans are social creatures. We need other people. Our lives depend on fitting in and having others like us. But on their deathbeds, people often realized that they cared way too much about what other people thought of them. They stayed in bad relationships because they worried what their families would think if they left. They chose careers to impress people, not because they were passionate about them. They ignored the voice in their head telling them that their lives weren't right because making changes seemed too painful. They went with the flow and accepted mediocrity. We make excuses and put off starting to live a life true to ourselves because we always think we have more time. But time often runs out before we've had the chance. You see, the secret is that most people are way too busy with their own lives to care about ours. There's an old saying, we care so much about what others think of us until we realize they never really do. When we're coming to the end of our lives, we'll probably reflect on how other people's opinions and society's expectations don't really matter. So why not let go and be yourself now? Regret number 2 is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. In their final moments, many of Bronnie's patients told her that they regretted prioritizing work above everything else. One of her patients kept putting off retirement to spend time with his family, always wanting to save just a bit more. But right as he was about to retire, his wife got ill and died, leaving him with a bunch of money, but totally alone. It's a common story. We work and work, dreaming of a glorious retirement, but many of us never get there. Bronnie writes, we spend so much time making plans for the future, depending on things coming at a later date to assure our happiness, when all we ever have is our life today. Even the people lucky enough to get to retirement healthy and with plenty of cash in the bank have still exchanged young years for old ones. They might not even physically be able to do many of the things they planned when they were spending their younger years grinding away at work. Let's be real. Work is obviously important. And doing work we're good at and find meaningful is a big part of a good life. The problem is letting work take over your life, become your whole identity, and push out everything else. Friends, family, health, hobbies, and travel. Remember that no matter how great your colleagues are, they won't always be around. They won't save you in a crisis. They won't comfort you when you're sick. They won't be with you in your final days. We take family for granted. But these are the relationships people truly care about when looking back on their lives. Don't sacrifice them for more money or stuff you don't need. If what you have now isn't enough, having more probably won't be either. Regret number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Opening up and expressing our feelings is hard. Being vulnerable leaves us open to being hurt, judged, or ridiculed. So we build walls around ourselves, keeping people out. Children are really good at expressing emotions, but as adults, gradually the defenses go up. We do this to avoid the pain that comes with honesty, but the price we pay is living a life without the people around us truly knowing who we are. Patients often said on their deathbeds that they wish they hadn't been so afraid of being open and honest. They were sad that they reached the end of their lives feeling like people never really understood them. They were bitter and resentful. We have a deep need to feel connected to other humans. Research shows that when we hold back, hide, or ignore emotions, it causes mental health problems like anxiety, as well as physical health issues like immune problems. Hiding emotions doesn't make them go away. It can actually make them stronger as they grow each time we ignore them. However, studies show that being vulnerable benefits our lives in so many ways. People feel closer to us and want to open up themselves, creating stronger connections. They trust us more and feel more comfortable around us. If talking about your deepest, darkest secrets seems like a lot right now, start small. Share something not too difficult with a close friend or family member, or even write about your emotions in a private journal. The fourth regret is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Tragically, many people in nursing homes are very lonely. We think our friends will always be there, but we get busy, our lives get in the way, and before we know it, connections go cold. In their dying days, many people suddenly find themselves without anyone in the world who understands them closely or knows anything about their history. They say they have deep regrets about losing touch with friends. As Bronnie says, everyone misses their friends when they're dying. Social connections are what make life worth living. All the money, status, and material possessions in the world can't make up for a lack of genuine friends. Research shows that the quality of our social relationships and how many friends we feel we can rely on are the main things that determine how healthy and happy we are. Loneliness can make us physically sick. Friends make the good times better and the hard times easier. It's easier to maintain friendships than start them up again once they've been lost. So take action now. Send a friend you haven't spoken to for a while a message saying you're thinking of them, or schedule a hangout. And most importantly, let them know you value them in your life. It's something we all need to hear. Regret number 5. I wish I'd let myself be happier. Many of Bronnie's patients had the realization too late that happiness is a choice. We get stuck in familiar habits and ways of thinking that don't serve us. We pretend to other people, and even ourselves, that we're happy because we're scared of what they'll think if we tell them the truth. Part of the problem is that we say to ourselves that it's okay not to be happy or not to prioritize our own happiness because it'll all work out in the future. We think it's fine to be miserable today if we're sacrificing for a better tomorrow. And this isn't always bad. It's important to work towards our goals and try to achieve big things, but we need to let ourselves be happy along the way. It's about the journey. Gratitude for every day along the way is the key to acknowledging and enjoying happiness now, not when the results come in or when you retire or when this or that happens. The danger of putting off letting ourselves be happy is that the future might never arrive. Life is hard, even for the luckiest people. But tough times and challenging circumstances shouldn't get in the way of finding peace and happiness in the present. These are the 5 most common regrets of the dying, according to Bronnie Ware's book about people in their dying days, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Talking about death isn't easy, but by studying what people at the end of their lives wish they had done differently, we can make changes and avoid living lives we'll regret before it's too late. I'll see you on the next one.